All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live Q&A call with Arash Vossoughi. We are so happy all of you are here. I can tell that some of you have been to a Q&A call of ours before because I saw so many hands start going up, but we are going to do today's Q&A call a little bit differently. You actually don't need to raise your hand. And what we're going to do instead is you're going to put your question into the chat and I'm going to relay the questions to Arash for you. So if you've got your question ready, fantastic. Go ahead and put it in the chat so I can read it to Arash for us. That's just to help us get through the questions a little bit faster so we can hopefully get through everybody's question in the time that we have together today. And before we get started, Arash, how are you doing?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you? Good to be here.
I am doing great as well. You know, last week we had our massive breakthrough workshop, and this is kind of a follow-up to that, although we invited everybody to join with us. What is it that you think is one thing that everyone needs to understand in order to create a massive breakthrough in their life, not just once, but over and over again?
They have to understand how much power they have inside of them. Most people don't understand that. I always say, like, if you think of the biggest icons, like look at Steve Jobs, like look at the impact he made in the world. He has no more power inside of him than you all have inside of you. But what happens is people don't understand how much they're being run by their program. Now they may understand I have a conscious mind, I have a subconscious mind. Even people who study it don't understand that only 5% of a person's day is being run by their desire, unless they're very intentional in using their conscious mind properly. And what happens is right now at this very moment, there is someone making a decision that they're going to change their life. But even when I'm talking today, people are only going to gain the understanding from where their awareness is. So the game of life is always to increase our awareness. The more we expand our awareness, we never go back to that original state. And like if you look at all of you here, you're not here to waste your time. You're here because something is inside of you that knows there's more for me to achieve. There's more for me to give. And there's more for me to become. But why aren't you doing it then? Because you're waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. And now you've got to understand your life is a blueprint of your subconscious mind. Like I want you to look at your results right now. They're a blueprint of how your subconscious mind is programmed, no more, no less. And the conscious mind is the creative mind. That's the part that we want to give to the subconscious mind to change the programming. The subconscious mind is a habit mind. Repetition is crucial. And like if you look at a child's first 7 years, their conscious mind isn't developed. They're observing their environment, and that's how their programs get developed. And then by 7 years, their conscious mind is developed. You know, like if you want to get nerdy with this, that's called the theta state. Okay, it's right under consciousness. It's right under consciousness. But what we have to understand is if we don't have the right processes, the right habits, we are just going to keep defaulting to that old program. Now, let me give you an example of this. This is probably a little longer introduction than you thought, Mikey. So
That's okay. I'm loving it.
But let me give you an example of this. Every time you're working hard at something, it's not part of your program. So you're trying to will it into form. So you're working against the creative process. We have to allow it, but we have to do our programming work every day. Like right now, every one of us is creating our future in this moment. Now, if you're in a low vibration, low energy, look at the size of the goals you have. That will tell you the size of the success you're going to create. Look at the size of your goals. That will tell you the size of your current identity. But the great thing about mind, it's running, like your programs are running 95% of your day. But guess who's in control of changing that? Well, when we start creating the right processes, now we start observing, no, that is not aligned with the person I want to be. You do that on you do that through your conscious mind, not your subconscious mind. But success becomes effortless when you stop defaulting to the program that is not working. And so I want every one of you to be, do, and have more than you even think possible. More than you think possible. But you have to decide to do the work. You have to decide and get the right direction, because without the direction, nothing changes. And from year to year, you're going to live the next 60 years, all the same. So I want to teach you how to do it where it's no different than when you brush your teeth. You just brush your teeth. You just know it. You're not stressed when you brush your teeth or when you breathe. That's how you create success. That's how you create fulfillment. But most people don't have goals. Like if I went through all of you one by one and I asked you a couple questions, I'd know whether you had a goal or whether you had a wish or a hope. They're very different. So let me give you an example. When somebody says, I'm afraid to do something, they do not have a goal. They have a wish or a hope. They defaulted to their subconscious programming and just went back on autopilot. They did not come from their desires. They did not come from how they want to live, and they definitely did not come from their future self. So these are just some starting points for us to get going.
I think that's fantastic, Arash. We have questions coming in pretty quickly, but I wanted to reiterate because we did have several people join after I went over this. For this Q&A call, you will not be raising your hand like you may have done in the past with us on a Q&A, or if this is your first one, great. You'll just be putting your question into the chat and I will ask it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and remove myself from the spotlight and ask you our first question, which is from Laura. I struggle with starting. How do I become a master of starting?
You have to do it now. Everything, Laura, I want you to do now. Do it right away. You're waiting for the perfect time. So you're an example of defaulting to that old program that is not going to serve where you want to go. So one of the best habits that I ever developed is doing it now. When I was losing, I used to do the same thing. When my back was against the wall and I really changed, that was the one habit I changed right away. And everything I did it right away. So don't overthink it. I want you to do it. Give yourself a command. This is what I'm doing right away. It'll change. The thing that it'll do right away, it'll change your standards, your identity, and your income within 30 days of just creating that habit.
All right, this next question is from Elizabeth. What is your new favorite morning or evening habit that you are trying out right now or have been loving in 2025?
I don't know that it's new. The repetition creates more power, so I have a much higher standard with it, is what I would tell you, Elizabeth. But I double down. I do about 40 minutes of work in the morning currently on visualization. In the evening, I'm very aware of how our mind works. So the last 5 minutes, I call it our golden hour, the golden opportunity. So when the conscious mind's out of the way, I always silently affirm to myself, I'm infinitely rich, I'm infinitely wealthy, I am perfect health, I'm the source of all abundance. And I do the same thing the first minute when I wake up. But in the evening, I ask myself these questions. When I work with my elite clients, I have a process for them that I haven't taught everybody that I do with them. And I'll teach it to you now. Is I ask myself at the end of my workday, let's say it's 5 o'clock, and I'll say, what were the thoughts you thought of today? What were the feelings you felt today? So what was the dominant thoughts? What were the dominant feelings? And what type of actions did you take? I ask myself this question because that's always the most accurate vote for the person I'm becoming today. I'm either becoming my future self, I'm either defaulting to my old program, my past self, or I'm at my present self where I'm just satisfied. Satisfaction is the worst thing I can ever be. You do not grow in satisfaction. And so those are a few processes that are non-negotiable for me.
All right, this next question is from Kate. Anytime I have an unexpected expense, my initial reaction is worry. After a beat, I can step back and say, oh, isn't that interesting? Okay, I can do this. How can I change my initial reaction? Is it just a matter of repetition? How do I completely overcome that scarcity feeling around money?
Well, you got to change your relationship with money. So, Kate, right now you're coming from a poverty consciousness. Everything just is until we put a relationship to it. When we put a relationship to it, we're using the way you explained it to me, you're using the law of assumption against yourself. So what you want to do, every time you get a bill, I want you to think of it like it's a check. Okay, that's what I want you to think. Because in your subconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. Now, we've got to change your relationship to money. So whenever you're going to spend $1, I don't care if it's $1. If you're going to get a pack of gum, I want you to, before you pay for anything, I want you to tell yourself, I am the source of all abundance. Now, the repetition of doing that over a few months will be thousands of times. But once again, we've got to change your habits. If I keep my current habits, I'm never going to get to a different set of results. But we've got to start every time. If you're having a problem with money, understand that's an inside job. That is an inside job. Your standards are not up to par. Nothing excels your achievement process and prosperity more than your personal standards, more than anything else. We've got to understand this. Goals are useless without standards. They are useless. And a lot of people are trying to achieve great goals with the same standards they've always lived with. It's never going to happen. It is never going to happen. So you've got to start doing these things, Kate, and you're going to shift it right away. And the beautiful part is when you do something out of your comfort zone, the universe rewards you right away. It will reward you. So you never get rewarded by being in your comfort zone. I had somebody ask me a question. The comfort zone feels good. I said, no, it feels terrible. We never grow in our comfort zone. Think of when you're out of your comfort zone. You do something out of your comfort zone. You're so proud of that. You're so proud of yourself. So we've got to get really abundantly honest with ourselves, because when you do, it's not picking at yourself. Now you're using, like you're so neutral, you're observing yourself and say, oh, that's aligned. I want to keep repeating this because repetition is how I'm going to change that program. That was a good activity I did, or that was a good thought that I had. That was a great emotional state I was in. Or you say, oh, this is not aligned. Every time you have doubt, I want you to tell yourself this. Don't fight the doubt. I want you to tell yourself that was my past self. Just by saying that, you're starting to rewrite the program. And by doing it over and over again, the program is going to change so rapidly.
All right, this next question is from Jean. For my focus sprints, my goal is to do 5 30-minute goal-oriented sprints daily, but I feel tired and exhausted after 2 sprints because they are working on my goal using skills that I'm not yet comfortable with. How can I get to doing 5 sprints daily instead of only 2?
Let's not judge them. Let's do these 2 amazingly. Okay, let's start with building your mental endurance. You remember when I said earlier that when you're trying to do it harder because it's fighting against the program? So we have to continue changing your program. Now, I don't know what you're doing in your program right now, but I could tell you, if I worked with you, I could show you exactly how to change your program in the most effortless way. But let's not judge it, because I'm glad you're working at a new skill set, because that's essential. We have to always work every 90 days on one belief, one skill set. But it's like anything. When we first learned how to walk, we kept falling down. Like our 1-year-old self was very frustrated, but we kept doing it. That's what we have to do. When we become adults, a lot of people, until they've really changed their standards, as soon as they fail, that's it. I'm not doing it again. You know, I remember when I really was starting to master myself. I would do 5 sales calls a day. Now, I didn't get immediate results right away. And this is years ago. This is when I was in my corporate world. I had no training. They just kind of threw you out there, and I would do 5 calls a day. Well, you stack those 5 calls over 90 days, all of a sudden, everything changed, So we've got to understand and observe the results, but I'm more interested in observing your behaviors. Because if I see your behaviors, I'm going to tell you what your results are going to be in 90 days. I will tell you automatically what they're going to be. But I don't want you to think this is hard. If you're doing it hard, you're doing it the wrong way. Everything in the universe is effortless. So when you've created massive success, it's when you've been allowing and it's been effortless, not when you've worked too hard. Now, a lot of people are, like I said earlier, they're not willing to do the work. They want all the results without doing the work. They want it without doing the work. And it never works that way. The work always works. You work the ideas work. But just understand, if you're pushing, you're forcing, you're gonna have, first of all, you're gonna give up. That's just what happens. But what happens is when you plant big beliefs inside of you, when you plant big processes, you're going to win big. You're going to win big.
This next question is from Adriana. I'm in the middle of the first quantum leap of the year. My yearly income becomes my quarterly revenue. In January, I managed to achieve what I set my mind on by focusing on my identity at the end of the month. Number 1, should I create another identity for February and March? Number 2, I feel very confident that I achieve, but I wonder if it is not complacency.
I would tell you that I would work on one identity-based behavior for 90 days, where it would be harder not to do than to do. And on average, the study of neuroscience has taught us, on average, it takes 66 days to create a belief, okay? Now, I've done it faster, and you could do it faster, Adriana, because it's so much easier to behave our way into a new identity than it is to think our way into a new identity. So if you continue taking actions 1% greater than you did the day before, you could do it faster. Now, what I love hearing is the question. Let me tell you why. Last July, Adriana told me she was stuck. And now look at her goals. You remember when I said the size of the goal tells me the size of the identity? So Adriana, I want you to remember how far you've come since last July. Okay, I want to congratulate you on that, because look how you look like a different person to me. I see you on my screen. You look so different. But I remember I was in London and she told me, Arash, I'm afraid because I don't want to get burnt out again. I said, you're just doing it the wrong way. But that's what I will tell you. I'm very proud of you. I'm happy to hear all your success. That's wonderful.
This next question is from Laura. When I shift my vibration significantly, sometimes I get sick or feel extreme resistance. Is it possible to live in extreme highs and not get sick or terrified eventually?
Yeah, you're still attached. You're too attached right now. When you shift your vibration to a higher vibration, you don't get sick. When you're getting sick, it's because you're doing it with stress. Stress shuts off the immune system. There's a hormone in our immune system that shuts off with stress. So I would take a different approach, and I would look at what you're actually doing, and I would like you to become a lot more relaxed. I think a great practice for you, if you're not doing it, is breath work and meditation. And when you do breath work, do 10 minutes of breath work in the morning, but you're not visualizing anything. You're just following your breath. This is telling your mind, I'm in control, you're not in control of me.
All right, this next question is from Elizabeth. Can you expand about using goal cards? I'm just not connecting physically with my goal card. For instance, sometimes I don't wear pockets and I lose it in my handbag. Any tips?
Well, goal cards, really changed my life. Like, I have a goal card in my pocket all the time. I have one on my desk right here, so like I always have a goal card. But the key is most people don't believe in it. That's why it doesn't work for them. And trust me, I've lost several goal cards. I had to go through the washing machine. I always have a goal card. I have one in my car. I have one on my nightstand. I have one in my bathroom, I have one in my pocket, and I look at it all the time. See, when you look at it, now you're activating the want. It's the repetition of using it. So if you're not connecting to it, you're not using it. So I would tell you to use it. And once you do, your goal is always on your mind. Like my hand's in my pocket right now. And right away, my goal came in my mind just by doing that. Like I could feel it in my pocket. Like it just came to my mind. So as it keeps coming to your mind, it becomes an obsession. Now, for women, I get it. Like you guys don't always have pockets, right? And so I get it. But put it in a way that it's always surrounding you. And you want to create cues. Like I have a cue every time I turn on my car. Once I turn it on, I think of my goal. Like I have these little cues, so create cues for yourself. If you like the one I use, that's worked for me for 2 decades. So I've never changed it. I'm always, throughout the day, I'll drive my car somewhere, so I always am thinking about the goal.
All right, this next question is from Matthew. How do we foster expectation? You said a want is not good enough. A desire is not good enough. We need to develop an expectation. What is the best way to do that?
You've got to see yourself with the good you desire, and you got to see it today like it's already happened. Like you've got to expect that it's going to be a great day. I had a client that I was coaching one-on-one last week. He goes, how do you do it? Because I don't expect every day to be the best day of my life. And he goes, do you really expect that? I said, I do. I said, I genuinely do, because a lot of people didn't wake up today. And I already won the day when I woke up. So expectation is in our power, but that's how we're using our conscious mind. So when somebody doesn't have expectation, they're defaulting once again to that old program. And that's why I'm telling you, like, you guys got to burn this in your mind. 5% of your day, you're focusing on your dreams and desires. 5%. And I want you to put that in. Yet you want to 10x your results. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You've got to become an outlier, and you've got to create your goal as an absolute non-negotiable. This is what I'm doing. Like, and it is done. And when it is not done in your mind, I'll hear people say, I'm getting close. I said, stop telling me you're getting close, because that means you're separate from it. You're not getting close. I want you to feel how you would feel if you already achieved your goal. Would you feel excited? Would you feel joy? Would you feel fulfillment? Would you feel that peace? I remember when I was really struggling and my income changed, it felt like overnight. Oh my God, I had so much peace. I mean, I can't tell you how much peace I had. So I remember it like it was yesterday. A great way to create expectation is think about before you're going on a trip. Like you're super excited the day before the trip. You have that excited anticipation. That's how I want you to feel about what you're going to achieve today. And that's going to light up your soul. It's going to light you up so much. But expectation is crucial, because you and I have had desires that we haven't achieved. So if it was just desire, which I'm not saying desire is not crucial, because it's 90% of the game. But if it was just desire, then why didn't we achieve it? We had a desire, like you guys have a desire right now. Well, why haven't you achieved it? So we have to rewire you, and the expectation does it. So expectation mixed with desire is a done deal.
All right, this next question, how can we get rid of perfectionism?
Well, you got to stop coming from your ego. You got to be aware perfectionism comes from my ego. So the ego is going to keep you from what you want. That's why I never say to myself like, oh God, Arash, you did so good at this. I try to detach completely from my ego. And it's a work in progress. The ego is very strong. The ego goes and works with your paradigm that gives your senses, let so-and-so know why can they do it and you can't. It tries to get you to be perfect. It tries to compare yourself to others. Every time you beat yourself up, that's the job of the ego. You let the ego override you because, once again, consciously, you weren't thinking. You were not thinking consciously. So I want you to set a standard of thinking. Your goal demands you to think in a certain way. And so we have to have a standard of thinking, just as we do have a standard of being, have a standard of gratitude. So once you do that, you're going to shift the game.
This next question is from Jill. When you and Mikey made the decision to start Voss Coaching Co., what elements or factors did you assess to make that move?
That's what I was doing. It was very simple for me. I mean, for me, it was very simple. And I wanted Mikey to run with me, if she wanted to, but I told her, and she'd be the first to tell you this, I'm doing this with or without you. Like, for me, when I make a decision, that's just where all my energy goes. And so it was, once I outgrow an environment, it's time for me to leave, or else I'm going to continue studying my growth. Now, if I tell you it went the way that I thought when we started, it went bigger and better than I could have ever imagined, but until I made a decision, it was not going to happen. So that was for me. That was, you got to understand, everything is about confidence, and I believe in myself. And I don't know the way, but I know I'm going to be able to figure it out. And that's what every one of our goals demands. Now, there's a lot of you, if you actually stopped coming from your paradigm and you actually came in and worked with me and continued to work with me and do exactly what I tell you, your life would be so different, just like mine was. Yet you have your own program that says, oh, they're just trying to sell. Listen, I'm not trying to sell. I'm selling because I can't help you until I work with you. You don't want to do it, don't do it. There's no pressure. But what is the price you're going to pay of another year coming from the same habits, behaviors, processes, and creating the same results? See, we all have to start understanding one of the greatest things that was ever taught to me. I actually, this weekend, created a lesson on it that I've never taught. But is you have to pay the price. You have to pay the price. And until you pay the price, and I'm not saying that price is always financial, because it's not. You have to pay the price of building the discipline. You have to pay the price of being in proximity with people who are really going to take you somewhere, who's already performed the results you want. If every day, all of us are choosing the price of comfort or the price of the life we want to be. And you have to start thinking of, not from your present reality, but instead of thinking of what do I want now, I want it to be what do you want the most? When you come from what you want the most, that's where everything is going to change. That is where everything's going to change. But are you paying the price? I want you to ask yourself this question, and ask it from a neutral place. Don't ask it from your ego. Ask it from a neutral place. Am I paying the price? Because I promise you, you can never measure what something costs, but I will tell you where it's going to take you is going to be far beyond what you can even imagine. But that's all dependent on if you really want it, if you really want to pay the price.
This next question is from Mark. What comes first, your programming or your thinking? I'm confused that wouldn't you first have a thought before you are programmed?
Of course not. You've been programmed your whole life. So if I had a computer, but it had no operating system, there would be nothing on the computer. So when we come into this world, we're not talking. Our program is being created. Remember, the first 7 years of a child's life, they're being programmed. And so to change the program, you have to be really good at learning how to use your higher faculties in your conscious mind. Your reasoning faculty, that's your ability to think. Now, you could change your program, but your programs are already there. Just look at your results. You're programmed for those results right now. You want better results, and why aren't you getting them? Because the program is running you. So we have to put the work in to change the program. And when you do that, you change, you're going to start seeing your circumstances, the people in your life start changing immediately.
This next question is from Stacy. I've noticed that when I get a good result or achieve my goal, my response primarily comes from my conscious mind rather than a true emotional feeling. I realize that I need to become a natural at feeling the positive emotions tied to my goals, or else I am not in harmony with them. Why do you think that this is happening with me, and what processes can I put in place today to change this?
Well, you got to train your emotional mind. You got to train yourself to be in an emotional state. Like when we're in a low emotional state, we could turn it into a high emotional state, okay? So like Stacy's saying, she's getting results consciously. So she's using 2 to 4% of her power. That's what she's saying, okay? Now imagine with the results she's getting, what she could do if we trained her emotional state. It would be dramatic, right? But Stacy is programming herself with the habits she has actually subconsciously. Okay, so she has good habits that are creating results, but she's leaving a lot on the table of who she can become. So let me give you an example of this, Stacy. Let's say I was in it, this is how I would do it for myself, okay? Let's say I noticed I had no juice in me. There was like my battery was on low, okay? I would say, I would go back to my goal and I'd say, it feels so amazing that I'm so free. Like I love the success stories my clients just sent me. I'm so motivated by this because I want to keep feeling this every day. Right away, just me talking like this, I raise my emotional state. Like you can all feel it. So always observe your emotional state because this is what's so vital to understand. The universe responds to your emotional state more than anything else. More than anything else. So if we stay in a low emotional state, we're going to get low results, right? That's just a law. Everything happens by exact law. So our job, and don't judge yourself hard. I want you to just continue to improve it by 1% every day. People come to me, oh, that'll be a 30% improvement in a month. No, it will not, because compounding interest. You know, so what we have to do is stop being so obsessed with what our results are, because most people are allowing their results to dictate their emotional state. Then they tie their results to what they're capable of. You guys, capability has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with, am I willing to pay the price? That's all it has to do with. Okay, you're believing a lie that says your results are who you are. Your results are not who you are. Your results are a reflection of your thinking, behaviors, and actions. That's all they are. But if you think that's who you are, that's not. So we've got to change, and you've got to see yourself so much bigger than how you currently see yourself. And as you do that, you're going to see the results constantly shift upwards.
All right, this next question is from Benny. Should we trust our gut feeling on making decisions?
All the time. All the time. You got to understand your gut never comes from fear. And let's talk about fear for a second. A lot of people do not trust their gut because they're not coming from their intuition, they're coming from their ego. The ego loves to talk to us in fear. Fear is designed to help us, not stop us. Yet most people stop when they get fear. But fear is building our mental toughness and preparing us for the identity and standards of the good we desire. That's what fear is. Fear is our subconscious mind channeling into our conscious mind saying, hey, you wanted this, go do this thing. So that's what we want to understand. We have to create an accurate relationship of it. So if you create an accurate relationship, that's what you're going to do. I'm going to give it so simple to you. So simple. Every decision you make, but you've got to be in integrity with these decisions, okay? So if I give you this and you don't do it, then you're not going to trust yourself. But I want you, every decision you make, say, would my future self say yes to this? Even if you don't have the money. Because you could find a way to earn money. You could find a way to attract that money. But you have to be in integrity with your future self, or else, guess what? Your integrity with your past self. And then ask yourself, if I keep making the same decisions, how am I going to get different results? See, if we start just making everything so simple, because success is so simple, it's not hard. When I was losing big, I was losing big because I was overcomplicating things. I would commit to doing 10 things. And that's what my mentor said when I first met him. He said, I want you to do exactly what I tell you to do. And it sounded easy enough, but I said to him, I've never done exactly what anyone's told me to do. I said, I'm a great starter and a terrible finisher. And he started laughing. We both started laughing. I think I started laughing because he was laughing. But I really didn't know if I could do it because I'd never done it. And he said, that's because you've never gotten the proper direction. That's the only reason. Like, I could look at all of you. I was using Adriana as an example of where she was last July and where she is now. But I have thousands of clients like Adriana. But you've got to do that first step and bet on yourself, because until you bet on you, nothing's going to change. But certain people are not even willing to do a coaching call. Why? Because they're coming from their past self. They're coming from their past self. You don't know what is about to change. Remember what I said, right now, this moment, there's someone who was very much like me, where they were sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they've made a decision that they're going to change their life. Why not that be you? Why not that be you? See, if I go back to Adriana, she said, Arash, is this going to work? She was so stuck emotionally. She'd be the first to tell you that. But I got her to see from my paradigm, not from her paradigm. And what you guys have to do is understand the biggest mistake people make in life is they think they have all this time in the world. They don't have all this time. And that's the truest thing that I could tell you. But I will tell you that we've got to take advantage and seize the opportunity. Gathering information is not the deal. Transformation is the deal. Transformation is bold. Transformation takes guts. But transformation also creates massive rewards. Like, look at the people that you admire. Like, I can tell you from my own personal experience, when I transformed that first time, I've never stopped holding that as my standard. Never stopped holding it as my standard. But before that, I was tiptoeing my way. When this happens, then I'll do this. When this happens, like, I was the exact opposite of everything I teach. Until I started doing the work and committing to the work. It takes commitment. And I want you to look at your commitment right now. Am I committed, or am I at a 5 out of 10 with commitment? Commitment is paying the price. Right now, if you did your morning routine this morning and you did it and keep doing it better every day, you are in the top 1%. You're in the top 1%. If you have a great evening routine, you're in the top 1%. But then look at the middle of the day. That's easy. People love studying this, okay? Action is the most important thing we do. It is the most important thing we do every day. You could build your imagination so strong, but if you don't follow it up with action, imagination and action is the bridge to where you're going to be. That's what it's going to be. And understand, your imagination is the workshop of God. That's what imagination is. It's, in my opinion, the highest, most important thing that we could develop. But when you're in that imagination, your subconscious mind accepts it the minute you do it. The minute you do it, accepts it, but you have to persist in the state. Most people are not seeing this work because, first of all, they have shitty processes. They're not even setting themselves up right. They don't, like, if I ask you guys, what are your processes to achieve your goals? What is your process for your morning routine? What are your processes for your top 20% of activities? What are your processes for leverage? Would you have an answer? Well, if you don't, then how are you going to achieve the goals? That's why the processes create the goals by default. I met a client, and I was in Dallas last weekend. I met a client in person, and he said to me, I've only been working with you for a month, and in a month, my world has changed. And I said, what is it that has really connected you to me? Because he had worked with Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy. He was giving me all these people. He said, nobody does it like you, Arash. You emphasize processes and action. That's been the game changer in my life. He goes, I've only been working with you for 30 days. And what I'm telling you, for every one of you, I will take you from where you are to where you want to be if you make that first step. You got to make that first move. Until you make that first move, nothing's going to change. Now, you could say, oh, will it really work? I don't know. You got to give yourself a chance. If you do the work, it'll work. So that's what you got to look at.
This next question is from Reem. I have a goal that I am madly in love with, but I would like to ask for additional help around daily morning goal achieving actions. I just finished this lesson covering it, but if you can, please provide more examples.
Well, it's hard for me to provide it based on the question because I don't know what your goal is. The goal always determines the process. So if you told me what your goal was, then I could tell you what to do. So I would need more specifics around the goal. So I'll give you an example. Like in your morning ritual, if you're earning 100,000 a year and you want to earn 1 million a year, we have to create the processes from 1 million, not from 100,000. So the first thing I would do is I would have you work on a visualization with an outcome, one scene for 20 minutes a day. And then I would create affirmations for you regarding worthiness, regarding your goal, regarding your actions, because affirmations reshape belief, because it's your new goal is going to demand a new belief. These are some of the things that I would give you in your morning routine. But like I said, it's hard for me to know because I don't know what the goal we're working towards.
Okay. This next question is from Mia. How do I shift into a new job when I am feeling depressed and irritated by my current job? I feel like my current job has put blinders on me, so I can't see what I should be next in a realistic way. I tell myself that I want to be happy in my work and making X amount of money, but that doesn't seem like enough of a vision to move me into a new job.
Yeah, I don't think you have a proper goal. And I think you've got to change your attitude towards your current job. Remember, life is just a mirror of us. Everything we're experiencing is just us outward of what's going on inside of us. So you're not going to get a better job if you have that current attitude with your current job. But I would recommend you create a goal. If you want to leave, fine, but be your very best there. Like, you are in control of your attitude. We can look for the good and the bad in everything. I want you to look for the good in your job. Okay? And then set a goal that I want to be in a career that really stretches me, that causes me to grow and has opportunity for growth. And I don't want you to settle for your next job it to be a lateral move. I want it to be something that is aligned with who you want to be. But we're never going to get a better job if we're not grateful for what we currently have. Understand that. So we've got to change our attitude towards that.
All right, this next question is from Araneth. I doubled my business income last year, which I am so proud of. And with this, I want to duplicate that this year. And it seems that I am falling back into overthinking the qualities that I have last year so I can apply that to the now. I know being a CEO of my own company requires mental toughness. Can you give me any advice? How do I balance strategic thinking with the action to avoid analysis paralysis?
Yeah, you got to stop doing that, number one. Overthinking kills more dreams than anything else. And what got you to double your income, Araneth, from the year before is not going to take you to double it next year. So we've got to keep upgrading your program. The mistake people make is once they start seeing results, they get complacent with it. And we've got to start coming from the strategy of your next goal. That's going to be a different strategy than your previous goal. So every time you're overthinking, just know the ego's in charge of you. Every single time. The ego is running your program. And so what we have to do now is we've got to upgrade your standards. We've got to upgrade your service. We've got to upgrade your impact, because everything, that's what standard is impact. And so as we do that, you're going to start getting the right strategies, but you're not thinking right now. When we're in overthinking, we're actually not thinking. So what we want to do is start getting conscious of our unconscious mind, like getting conscious of how we're thinking and then change that thought. Everything you do has to come from your future self, not from last year. I want you to let go of last year. Last year's over with. And I want you to be grateful for it. I want you to show yourself what you're capable of, because last year you doubled your income. But I want us to completely let it go and now focus on the future you're creating today. Right now, what we're doing today is creating our future.
This next question is from Mary Jane. I am afraid to my fear that it may happen. I tried to shift it at once, but sometimes I was caught unconscious and the fear goes to imagination happening. What should I do? Is there a filter to that not to happen?
Yeah, you got to get really good at accepting and rejecting ideas. This whole philosophy, the whole philosophy of life comes down to one thing, the law of assumption. What we assume, we become. So you've got to get good at rejecting ideas that are not in harmony with what you want. And when you start getting really good at accepting and rejecting ideas from your future self, those thoughts are going to minimize. You're actually accepting them, so they're altering your vibration, which is also dictating what you attract. Because it goes, anytime we accept an idea, it goes through our imagination right to our subconscious mind. There is no analytical mind filtering it out. Because we're so neutral with it, we just accept it. So we want to get really good at accepting and rejecting ideas. But in order to get really good at accepting and rejecting, we've got to raise our standards. We got to say, I'm not tolerating anything under this. I am not tolerating this. And when you do that, your conscious mind is going to be aware of what thought doesn't support it. And your job is now to do that next step of reject that.
All right, this next question. What do you do when you still have a lot of resistance to new processes going on? How do I collapse so that I do more of what I'm supposed to do?
Well, why would you have resistance to new processes would be my question. The second thing is resistance blocks the good you desire. So just like prioritize that. So if I'm in resistance, I'm not creating what I want, I'm creating what I don't want. It's a very simple formula to success. It's our desire mixed with non-resistance equals the desired outcome. So you've got to stop letting that old program that doesn't serve where you want to go, stop filtering you out. So this is where we've got to get really good with your thinking processes.
What is the best way to execute a sale?
You have to practice. You have to have a great presentation, number one. Most people have very bad presentations. The clients are never saying no to you. They're saying no to your presentation. They're saying no to your confidence. They're saying no to your lack of authenticity. But then you've got to become a great listener. You want to find out what somebody wants and show them how your product, idea, or service can fill that. But they're going to know if you don't believe it, the first person you have to sell is yourself. But what salespeople don't do is they don't practice their presentation. There's different layers of salespeople. There's a good salesperson who just sells features. They can get really good at selling features. They're never going to create a lot of money that way. There's a great salesperson who always sells outcomes. There's elite salespeople who sells outcomes with feelings. Because now you're talking from your subconscious mind to their subconscious mind.
How do I speed the process? I feel like I'm moving forward, but slowly.
You got to upgrade your emotional state. You got to upgrade your standards. You got to upgrade your circle, who you hang around. You've got to be in proximity. Proximity will earn you millions upon millions of dollars. Like that's what it did for me. The worst thing people do is they try to do it on their own. They try to do it on their own because they think that's the easiest way. The easiest way in that sense is not going to get it. When you're around people who stretch you, well, guess what? Your consciousness stretches and everything changes.
Arash, what can I tell myself to program myself to pass the learning process when I'm changing a career?
Say the question again.
What can I tell myself to program myself to pass the learning process when I'm changing a career?
Well, you got to create a new program, but you got to create it just like your ability in your old career. And so you're still bringing you to the table. So you want to see yourself already being the best in the world at what you do. That's critical. The second thing is now you work on your skill set, that one skill set that is going to propel you forward. But I want you to have the same attitude of something you're really great at. Have that same attitude and bring it into that new career.
This next question, how do we allow ourselves to fail more and even appreciate the failure?
You got to have a great relationship to failing. Failing is what creates success. Like a successful person doesn't think failure the same as the average person. They think it's an illusion. Every time I fail, I know I'm creating 10x success for myself in the future. You have to be willing to fail at your future self, then succeed at your present self. But you have to recalibrate your attitude towards failure. Your wins are never as great as you think, and your losses are never as bad as you think. It's more about what you do consistently, compounded over time, that are going to create the big results.
Arash, as we bring this Q&A call in for a landing, there's obviously been a theme. There's always kind of a theme on Q&A calls. You see different types of questions coming in. What would you tell this group as a whole as to some of the most important things they can do moving forward?
Well, number one, nothing's going to happen unless you commit to yourself. When you commit to yourself, you build more trust with yourself. But you've got to start getting in control of your thinking. You've got to create the right processes. I promise you this, nothing will change except the dates on the calendar if you just keep doing the same thing. And it's not about studying. Studying is essential, but it's about application. It's about execution. I'll tell you, in the last 20 years, one of the most important things that I ever learned, and I've been around some of the best thinkers in the world, like I was a great student, I still am a great student, is number one, they are always focused on their purpose. They're very purpose driven. They're very committed to their goal. Number two, they focus on one skill set that is absolutely crucial for them to keep mastering. Number three, they have great discipline. And number four, they have no excuses. They have no excuses. Those are the four things, if you make part of your identity, that will change the game. But I will tell you, stop trying to do it without doing the work. It's never going to work. It will never work until you do the work. Paying the price is not about giving up everything. It's about giving up the right things. That's what paying the price is. It's not about putting yourself in desperation. Paying the price is really that you're doing whatever it takes, because your goal is going to demand whatever it takes, and it's going to always take whatever it takes. I never know what my goal is going to take, but that's when everything changes. So I want you to observe yourself and ask yourself, how am I thinking? How am I feeling? What type of actions have I taken just this year? Just observe it just this year. That will tell you what you're creating in the future. I will promise you that. If you're inconsistent, your standard is weak. So you're going to get weak income. I will tell you that. If you procrastinate, your income is not growing. It is going backwards. I will tell you that. If you're not around and constantly in one of our programs, you're making a big error. Like, I don't care if you do it. You don't want to do it, don't do it. But you're making a big error. And I will tell you this, it's up to you. Every minute spent in distraction is minutes that are away from the person you want to be. So understand that. Every time you negotiate with yourself, I don't have to do my auto suggestion. I don't have to do my morning routines. I don't have to do the actions. You're in distraction and you just defaulted to your old self. So you've got to, I'm using my mentor here because he used to always say this to me. He said, people got to stop screwing around with their life and get serious. If you're doing those things that I said, you're not serious, and you have to get serious. And you have to have great mentors in your life. If you don't have great mentors, good luck. But it's not just about having a mentor. You have to make that first step. Until you make that first step, you're not betting on yourself. You're betting on comfort. You're coming from your old self. Every choice in our life compounds. Make every choice from your future self. Stop making choices from the limited version of you that has been running your program. because that's how you're going to create financial freedom. That's how you're going to create so much impact that people always pay for value, not effort. And your value is going to increase because you're going to be in a circle of people who have high standards. And guess what? That becomes your standard. That's what you want to do.
Arash, this was fantastic. I want to thank all of you for spending an hour with us today and for coming with such great questions. Arash, you're always fantastic at giving such insightful answers. And we'll see you all next time. We are going to go ahead and drop a link in the chat so you can book a call with a member of our team if you'd like to talk to us about working with us in one of our mentoring programs. And for now, we'll see you later. Bye, Arash.
Bye, Nike. Thank you.